so I wrote in my part that this is going to be a growl moment. Let's talk about first the gliss. As I've said before, you drop everything and the motion of your mouth goes from an E sound to like a ooh sound, like the shape of your mouth inside. Because when you're playing, your corners are in and you're thinking ew, and you kind of have to make that ew, like go from saying like pee to poo, pee, without like, just like a, I'm trying to be funny, okay? So we're gonna gliss and make it kind of do one of these things. And the last thing you play, you want to get as far down as you can. And it's going to take a lot of practice for you to be able to bend the pitch that far down, but with practice you will be able to. Just remember what I said about dropping the back of the throat and making the shape of your mouth go from an E sound to an ooh sound. Alright, so after we do that, we have to do that simultaneously. Once you've mastered that, then we're going to talk about growling. And growling is basically just screaming into your clarinet while you're playing it at the same time. This was pretty easy for me to learn because I could already do one thing, and that is humming and whistling at the same time kind of gives you the same, it's kind of the same sort of motion where you're doing two things and like you're kind of like pushing it. So if you can hum and whistle at the same time, if you can't whistle, just humming and blowing at the same time. So your next thing is to just start on an open G, something that's very, like a very easy note to play, and hum into your clarinet. So let's just hum into the clarinet. Okay, cool. Now let's try to hum and then push air like we just did without the clarinet, with the clarinet. That's not going to be a pretty sound. It's just not. Now try playing the G and holding it and then incorporating the hum into it. And eventually you'll start to feel like it goes from a hum to like a, almost like a buzzy kind of sound. So that's the sound that we're looking for. Again, it takes a lot of experimentation doing this, and it's not going to be pretty 99% of the time when you're first starting out. So just keep that in mind. Don't get frustrated. So when we go up, I'll do it super slow. And that's how you growl and gliss and bend and do all that fun stuff at the same time. I think I've explained the parts of it. It's just a matter of you being able to put it together. Sometimes it helps to write it down and it's like, all right, today I'm just going to practice bending the pitch down, and then today I'm going to practice just growling on an open G, which is kind of like how I figured out how to do it too. So the more you get comfortable with the motion of the mouth on those pitches and in those situations, the more comfortable you'll be incorporating them into the rehearsals, etc. Measure 151. We've got a big old glissando from a low E to a high F. Basically, you just play a really fast scale from E to the D 2 octaves above it. So the gliss starts off like this, and linger a little bit on the E, and then end on the D. That's the first half of the gliss. The second half of the gliss is just bending from a D, and you're gonna slide your fingers off and end up fingering a B flat. And then slide your fingers off, kind of going like in this motion. So like away from where your clarinet is and kind of up. This one comes up, the next finger comes up, the next finger comes up, and so on. Okay, my camera stopped recording. So as I was saying, you're on the D, I'm in register, and everything is coming up and up and up and so on and so forth. And then when you get up here, as your fingers are sliding forward, you're just gonna kind of slide up to the B flat. Oh, and also when you get to the D, drop the pitch, and as your fingers are coming up, start to bring the pitch up with your mouth so that when you land on here, it's a higher note. So from the D, very slowly. So that you end up on a really high note. And that was super slow, so when it's put together, and that honestly takes so much work. So if it doesn't come out right away, don't worry about it. And then when you're up here, it's easy to just land on the F natural and then go from there. So as long as you play an F natural on the downbeat, it doesn't really matter what happens in the gliss section. Then we've got this crazy section, which, like, it's the triplet 16th section. Just practice that really thoroughly with a metronome. I do it in triplets first, just to get used to the rhythm, because it is off the beat and it happens in really weird parts. And do a lot of listening in this section too. But this is one of the sections where it's basically just woodshedding, and I can't really give you much else than just practice slowly with a metronome. And if you want to learn how to learn fast music fast, or learn fast music quickly, I do have a video about that, which I will link either in the card or down below, or yeah, it'll be somewhere on here, don't worry. You won't have to look for it. Another place where I put a growl is this spot before going on to, it's at the bottom of one of the pages. So that's what I do there. It's the same thing, bending the pitch, doing this kind of thing, and humming it, or yelling, screaming into your clarinet. All right, going into the cadenza, the A flat going into the F. So the fingering I've been using for that is thumb and register and the side key to get the A flat, and then F is just our normal F. And I like to make the cadenza like on that high C on that high C, like I like to hold it for a really, really long time, and then I just sort of pinch my mouth at the end to give it like a blue. I'll just do it. You can for show, you can yank your clarinet out and it'll give you the same effect. It's sort of like a little, not really a pinch, but a letting go, where you're kind of just like dipping, your bottom lip comes out, is what I'm trying to say. Any time that you want to add a growl, you pretty much can. Coming out of the cadenza, the last thing, really milk those for all that it's worth and add growls. Just like, make it ugly. You're an electric guitar. You're not a clarinetist. You are Eddie Van Halen. This part's pretty self-explanatory. Trill bottom to right side keys for the entire time. So you're just going like this for the entire time. Oh, I had a lot of water somewhere. And then you end. And what I chose to do, so that high A is basically an overblown E with the C sharp key over here. So this is the fingering for that high A, and I chose to hold that a little bit longer than is stated because it sounds good. And then I end with the A flat with the thumb and register and the side keys, bum bum, and then the normal F. So that's how it ends. And then I put a couple of other things where, like just this whole thing, what I said before, using the top two side keys as opposed to the A. Again, I'll put them next to each other so you can see how much faster they are. Versus so I would use the top two trill keys. Just keep in mind that it's a very unstable pitch. Going from these little F sharp things to see like you're going to want to put a ton of air behind that, because F sharp to C sharp, just for whatever reason, those notes are incredibly unstable, so just make sure that you've got a lot of air behind those. Open up the throat a little bit so that the notes can, the air can flow out a little more. If you open your throat and relax your throat through that section, you'll be good. This one goes from first finger to fork. That's what the FK means. It doesn't mean the F word, it means fork. That actually should be your middle. And that brings us to the end. So I hope that clears up a few things. I hope you got some, tips out of this. If you're learning it, best of luck. And if you are just learning on how to do some of the extended techniques, or if you're curious about this piece at all, now you have everything you need to know. So, go practice.